Hi and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about should the Audubon Society change their name. So come along and enjoy this conversation. The Audubon Society is an American organization that was set up in 1901 for the conservation of birds. In 1905, their charter said that they were there to protect gulls, terns, egrets, and other waterfowl for the conservation of those property. The Audubon Society over the century has expanded that description to all birds that live in the Americas. The Audubon Society does conservation. They have charters in all 50 states of the United States. They own land to protect for wildlife. They do a lot of education. They're an incredibly positive and good organization that I believe very strongly and I support with my dollars. They are named after John James Audubon, a man who lived from 1785 to 1851. John Audubon wrote the book. He was an American artist and author who wrote the book Birds of America, a very pivotal book that was written and it was used by conservationists to protect wildlife. In the time period we're talking about, between 1850 and 1920, large-scale commercial harvesting of wild animals was a massive thing, and it caused the extinction or near extinctions of, if not hundreds of species, maybe thousands of species of animals, from the American buffalo to white-tailed deer to the mule deer to egrets, herons. All these animals were shot for fashion, for food, at an industrial level. A matter of fact, the genocide of the killing of the American buffalo was a military exercise to contribute to the genocide of the tribal people in the United States. These are this is why conservation started up and why it is so important to continue conservation as it is. Now, John Audubon also owned slaves. It's a horrible, despicable thing to think about. Slavery to me is one of the great sins in the Americas. I consider it in the same caliber as the genocide of the tribal people. These are unforgivable. These people had no choices of them. I think about a book that Stonewall Jackson's wife wrote about how good her husband was as a slave owner because he wouldn't beat his slaves. His slave might do something wrong, like, as she says in her book, leave a door open, let the slave get to their quarters, and then summon them back to close the door. You and I would call that person a piece of shit. These people had no choice. They had no rights under the law. They could be sold. These people were sexually assaulted. Their children were born into slavery. Their children could be sold from underneath them. It was a despicable thing. And the idea that the Audubon Society has their name after somebody that has committed this horrible crime, I think, is something that they should really consider changing. Now, I know there are people out there that think that, well, we can acknowledge it and say, well, John Audubon was a slave owner and that is a horrible thing, but we still can keep the name of the organization as that. And I don't think we can simply do that. I point out, so in 2020, the American Birder Association changed the bird from the McLean longspur to the thick-billed longspur. John McLean was a Confederate general who fought for not only the right to own people, but for the expansion of slavery into the Americas. And when I say Americas, this Confederacy planned on expanding slavery into Mexico, the Caribbean, and down into South America and Central America. So this person, we changed the name because he was a despicable human being. And I believe that other birds, such as the Brockman sparrow and the Ross goose, should also be changed, because those birds are named after really despicable human beings. And John Audubon, even though he had done so much good for conservation and was such a pivotal figure in this conservation, he also was a slave owner, and I believe that we cannot simply ignore that or acknowledge it and just move on. I believe that we do have to change the Audubon Society's name. I do want to hear what you have to say. I think it's important for us to have an intelligent conversation about it, so please leave your comments below, and I want to thank you for watching.